Swan Bitcoin CEO Corey Lipson. All right, Corey. So obviously you're exposed to Bitcoin. You want it to do well. You're not coming in as a neutral party. Make the bull case for Bitcoin and other cryptos right now.
Brian, you're the lucky charm for Bitcoin, and we're here to usher in a nice new rally in 2026. So yeah, it has been a rough fall right after a nice rise. Remember, we actually touched 73K before that rise up to 126, and now we're settling into kind of the high 80s. It's been bouncing between 85 and 90, maybe 91 for a couple of weeks now. I think the bigger story, if I zoom out, is these 4-year cycles that we got so used to in the Bitcoin space, where there was a bull market peak in 2013, 2017, 2021, followed by the price never actually reaching that level the following year. So there was never a time in 2014 where the price surpassed that high of 2013. Same thing for 18 versus 17, same thing for 22 versus 21 with the FTX collapse and all of that. And I think because we didn't see this astronomical price rise in 2025 that you might have expected if you still believed in those halving driven cycles or liquidity driven cycles or whatever it was that was causing that 4-year cycle, because there wasn't an astronomical rise, it's hard to imagine some precipitous fall from here. It seems like there's plenty of institutional money and government money on the bid and lots of people buying and more people coming in. Adoption in Bitcoin is kind of a one-way motion. People don't tend to get into Bitcoin and then get out of it. They generally stick. It's just a matter of how much they buy. And so I think we have more than a 50% chance, is how I handicap it, of a new all-time high in 2026. So I actually do expect.
Wow, more than a 50% chance of a new all-time high in 2026 for Bitcoin. Okay, let's see if that happens.
That we'll see above 125K next year.
Above 125K.
Above 125K for Bitcoin, right? Above 125K for Bitcoin. That's very interesting. Let's see if that actually happens for Bitcoin in the near term to short term. So let's see if that happens. So let's continue with the video.
This might be a little bit off topic, and by the way, I love being a lucky charm. It's better than the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
Which is this. A lot of these Bitcoin miners, the Cyphers of the world, TeraWulfs, Hut 8s, whatever they are, they've gone more now to AI power. They're not leaving Bitcoin mining, but the focus has been elsewhere. Does that actually help or hurt the Bitcoin case if fewer huge industrial miners are going after that ledger?
Look,
That's a very good question to ask. Very good question.
the Bitcoin mining space is always so dynamic, and there is a nice interplay between smaller scale miners and these larger institutional industrial scale miners. And yeah, you are absolutely right. There has been tremendous stock performance by the Bitcoin mining stocks that have leaned into AI over the last few years. And you see even some of the larger ones like Core Scientific, which came out of bankruptcy famously and has had a nice little run here. I think they've just come out and said that they're going to be 100% HPC by 2028 or 2029. So they want to get out of Bitcoin mining completely. All this does is just create more opportunity. And remember, just because hash rate might fall or go up or whatever, it doesn't really change the security model of Bitcoin, and it really doesn't change anything about the price. The hash rate and sort of what it costs to mine a Bitcoin is
Very interesting perspective, right? So very interesting. So no all-time high for Bitcoin in 2026, past $125,000 per coin. Very interesting point of view, very interesting perspective. Although I don't think that will happen in 2026, but let's see if that actually happens. And later on in the video, I'm gonna actually show you guys on the charts for technical analysis, what this looks like on the charts. Before we get there, let's get into the next reaction video for Bitcoin.
Welcome back to Trading 360, I'm Jenny Horn, and it's now time for our 360 round. And for that, I'd like to welcome in our panel to help us discuss crypto and all the activity we saw in 2025. Joining us now is John Harm, Managing Director at Swan Bitcoin, and Bill Barthheit, CEO and founder of Abra. Thank you both so much for being with me today. And so, Bill, to start off with you, I mean, what economic conditions could you see now driving some further upside to, say, $1 million target for Bitcoin over the next 4 years?
$1 million target for Bitcoin in the next 4 years. Wow. That's a big number in the next 4 years. Okay.
Yeah, sure. We have a saying in our space, accredited to Lynn Alden, nothing stops this train. It generally refers to money printing, debt servicing, massive liquidity injections that we've seen over the years. I think we're going to see a ton of that in 2026. It's basically, Bitcoin acts like almost like a levered bet on technology stocks when it comes to price, not adoption. And I think when you multiply that times the regulatory clarity, the interest from institutional investors who've securitized Bitcoin and other crypto assets, I think it's going to be a great few years for Bitcoin and the crypto markets in particular.
Okay, so now, John, as we turn to you here, what do you watch for now for some upside catalysts as we approach a new year, a reset, and hopefully some more easing regulatory conditions?
Yeah, great to be here. So I would say, firstly, prediction-wise, I think people like myself need to eat a little bit of crow because I would have got the year-end prediction wrong. I thought for sure we would be something higher than the 80s or 90s or 100K. So I'll just start by saying that. But I think when you look at the macro backdrop for 2026, I think it is just hugely supportive. And if you contrast it with prior bear markets in Bitcoin, things like inflation, interest rates, central bank balance sheets, federal spending, valuation metrics for Bitcoin, market access with things like the ETFs, institutional promotion and institutional adoption, they're just all better now. They're just all objectively better now than they were in the past. So I think that supportive backdrop plus new announcements coming out will be what propels Bitcoin higher in 2026. It'll be announcements like we heard in the last few months. Just to name a few, Harvard, a $50 billion Ivy League endowment, their largest publicly reportable position is Bitcoin. Middle East sovereign wealth funds own a healthy chunk of Bitcoin. Vanguard finally capitulated, and their 10 trillion of client assets can now have access to the Bitcoin ETFs. And B of A Merrill Lynch recently put out a paper that was basically saying, hey, we're now supportive of, I think it was 1 to 4% of an allocation to Bitcoin and crypto in client portfolios. So those are just huge announcements, in my opinion. And I think they will continue going forward, and that's what will be supportive for Bitcoin.
Okay, and so Bill, now to turn back to you, I mean, why do we see these corrections like 25, 35% that are considered, relatively normal during these bull markets?
Yeah, look, there's been points this year where NVIDIA was more volatile or Tesla was more volatile than Bitcoin. Bitcoin historically has been a 50, 60, 70 vol asset. It's shrunk to probably a 30 vol asset this year, which is actually quite impressive. Look, we had basically regulatory overhang, which I think was holding Bitcoin down significantly, probably to the tune of 50%, which is why we saw a big spike. We expected lower interest rates. We expected more money printing. We didn't get that. So when you actually factor all of that in, the fact that we're riding that kind of 90K range for Bitcoin really does make sense to me. And I think when you combine that with the fact that we're starting to see significant stimulus, we're going to see real quantitative easing. We're seeing quantitative easing light right now. The Fed is starting to buy its own bonds. And I think demand for government debt is going to fall significantly next year along with lower rates. So all of this bodes well for higher vol assets, including the likes of Bitcoin.
Okay, and I will say something you both have mentioned is this, global stimulus measures, but also these ETFs and treasury company adoption that we're seeing right now. And so John, to go back to you here, how does this then evolve and hopefully provide a cushion for some of the Bitcoin market dynamics we're expecting in the new year?
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
Yeah, so I think you highlighted, two big groups that are propelling Bitcoin adoption. They are undeniably very big buyers of Bitcoin, would be the ETFs and the treasury companies. I think they are quite different in the sense that the Bitcoin treasury companies, they're a little bit more sentiment driven. There are a bunch that popped up in this year, 2025, that may or may not be around going forward. It's a new segment of a new industry. So I think the market is going through the messy process of seeing how much demand is there for how many of these companies to exist. I think MicroStrategy has proven that they will exist, that they'll continue executing this strategy for a long time to come, but it remains to be seen how many more of those companies will exist. So that's a question mark, but there will at least be a handful of these companies that continue accumulating Bitcoin as their primary strategy. The ETFs, I think, are a more stable form of Bitcoin acquisition. As I mentioned, Harvard, one of the largest Ivy League endowments, they're getting their Bitcoin exposure through the ETFs. Same with Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds. They're going through the ETFs. I think a lot of wealthy individuals will likely start with the ETFs because it's a ticker in their brokerage account and it's just easier. It's more familiar. It's easier for an advisor to recommend it. But then there will be a segment of those ETF buyers who then say, you know what, I'd like to own, quote unquote, the real thing. And then they'll get access to real spot Bitcoin in a variety of ways that they can. So that's how I see adoption playing out in the coming months and years.
Yeah, and I think it's an exciting space to continue to follow, of course, into this new year. So appreciate you both, John Har, Managing Director at Swan Bitcoin, and Bill Barheit, CEO and founder of Abra.
So from both of the videos, right, guys? So just to kind of highlight some key points for from both of the videos. So both of the videos are pretty much explaining, right, that from the individuals that have spoken from both of these two videos that I've looked at, and I'll also put the links to both of these original videos in the description down below. So if you guys ever want to, so if you guys ever want to, watch those videos on you, you can always watch those videos on you. So I'll, excuse me, I'll put a original link in the description down below to both of those videos. So I'll put a link down below in the description. So for both of these videos, right, very important to understand is this, right, regards to both of these videos, right, key points to highlight here. So these individuals are seeing that, and other individuals are seeing this as well, that Bitcoin may see a new all-time high in 2026, right? That's the 2026 outlook as we are in the new year, right? So with regards to Bitcoin, what they're saying to you is that considering all the things that's happened in previous cycles, this cycle is a little bit differently in terms of several factors, right? Interest rates, interest rate cuts could help propel Bitcoin to higher prices. That's one thing. ETFs from institutional adoption, that's another thing that can help propel Bitcoin in terms of its price action. And then also treasury companies, right? And treasury companies purchasing Bitcoin and all those different things, right? So I think that these perspectives were very interesting to see what these individuals were saying, and see what their outlook is for Bitcoin in terms of near term to short term for 2026. Now, the thing is with Bitcoin, right? It's in the arena of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is very volatile. It's 24/7, 365 days in a year, and there's never a dull day in crypto. So whatever happens in crypto, specifically in Bitcoin, whenever Bitcoin moves very volatile in terms of price action, and the volatility in crypto is very much high. Whenever there's a lot of volatility in Bitcoin, that then has a ripple effect throughout the entire cryptocurrency market. So then, and also to another thing that they mentioned too was regulatory framework, right? So there's this hope that the Clarity Act may be passed that will provide a regulatory framework for the entire digital asset space regarding cryptocurrency, all right? Now, regarding the prices, right? The price prediction, there's a lot of price predictions out there for Bitcoin. There's people are saying that it's going to go higher from its recent all-time high. Others are saying that it may go to 250K, and others are saying that it may go to $1 million within the next 4 years. But I think that the opposite may happen, right? And let's actually look at the charts. I'm going to actually take you guys through the process of looking at the technical analysis behind Bitcoin. So let's actually look at the chart to see what the charts are saying, right? So let me just see where trading view. Okay, so trading view. So let's look at the charts on trading view, right? So as of right now for Bitcoin, Bitcoin as of the recording of this video is trading around $95,389 now, $398, right? So for Bitcoin, right? Once again, as I said, for Bitcoin, it's in the arena of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is 24/7, 365 days in a year, and there is never a dull day in crypto. And whenever there's a lot of volatility in crypto around news and narratives and different things of that nature, crypto moves a lot. So that's something that I want you guys to be very, very mindful of. So, with regards to Bitcoin, right, there is a lot of price predictions out there that I mentioned before. People saying that it could hit 250K, 250,000 per coin, and even $1 million per coin in the next 4 to 5 years. And I think that for us in the cryptocurrency space, and I just want to say this, that I am bullish on crypto. I think that crypto will do well in the next 5 to 10 years. But I think as of right now in 2026, we have to be more realistic in terms of our price predictions, for crypto. So in terms of a realistic price prediction for crypto in regards to Bitcoin, because whatever happens in Bitcoin has a ripple effect throughout the whole entire cryptocurrency market. Now, this is very important to understand here, right? This is gonna be my question for Bitcoin holders and even for the entire cryptocurrency space, right? We may get regulatory framework, right? That's still on the table. We may get that, but as of right now, the 4 year cycle has ended, right? The 4 year cycle has ended, right? We got lower interest rates. You know, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates heading towards the end of the year of last year, right? And also too, we got ETFs, right? We have the launch of ETFs now, which attracts more institutional adoption into Bitcoin, right? Now that we have those three things, right? And in addition, we may get the Clarity Act that may be passed, which is the regulatory framework for the entire digital asset space. Now, if that does get passed, will that propel Bitcoin to a higher price in terms of price action, in terms of a new all-time high? I don't think so. I don't think we're gonna get to 250K anytime soon, not even $1 million in the next 4 years. Now, I could be wrong, and that's fine, right? It's okay if I'm wrong on that. But based on what I'm seeing on the charts, and I'm gonna actually walk you guys through the charts here. So this trend line right here, we're looking at the 5 year trend line Bitcoin. This trend line right here connects all the highs going back to the 2017 bull market, the 2021 bull market, and the 2024/2025 bull market for Bitcoin, right? So this is very important to understand here. All these highs that are connected on this trend line will mark the peak of Bitcoin after every 4 year cycle on Bitcoin. That's the first point, right? Second point is this. Every time we hit this trend line, we've got rejected in terms of price action, rejected, and also rejected here, rejected here. So here, we almost hit it twice here, got rejected the first time, and almost came closer, but still got rejected. And then we came here, right back here in around July of 2025, right? Came back here, right back to this trend line. This is massive resistance on Bitcoin, right? So we hit it once, got rejected, hit it twice, got rejected, and hit it 3 times and got rejected, right? So in terms of the price action for Bitcoin, it's looking like Bitcoin is not gonna reach a new all-time high anytime soon. And it looks like, based on what the charts are telling us, based on from a technical analysis perspective, that Bitcoin actually reached a cycle high in terms of the 4 year cycle in October 2025 of last year. So I think that Bitcoin has possibly topped out at $125,000 per coin. I don't think that Bitcoin goes any higher from there. Now, why do I say that? Now, let's go into the different chart patterns, right? So let's actually zoom in. So on Bitcoin, right? This is the weekly chart on Bitcoin. So as we see right here, we got rejected from this resistance level right around 125, $126,000 on Bitcoin, right? So for Bitcoin, right? So and from the videos we've watched, there's been a lot of prediction that it will go higher, right? Making new all-time highs, right? But let's look at the chart. Now for Bitcoin, right? It has ever since come down in price action. It broke below this major support level right around $100,000 per coin. And ever since then, it has broken below that level and confirmed below that level. Typically in technical analysis, whenever a chart breaks below and confirms below a technical level, whether if it's support or resistance, now price action and whatever trend that is, and as in this case, is in a bearish trend. This is a bearish pattern. As of right now, what was former support on Bitcoin at around $100,000 per coin, right? At around $100,000 per coin is now major resistance. So for Bitcoin, right? What is the macro pattern for Bitcoin? For Bitcoin, this is the pattern for Bitcoin. This right here, this pattern right here that's being formed on Bitcoin, this is called in technical analysis a bear flag. This is a bearish technical analysis technical pattern on Bitcoin, right? So for Bitcoin, now that we're forming a bear flag on Bitcoin, right? After breaking below and confirming below $100,000 per coin on Bitcoin, after we broke below and confirmed below $100,000 per coin on Bitcoin, typically in technical analysis, whenever you break below and confirm below a particular support level, technical support, like a major technical support level, what typically happens is price comes down, it digests all of the downside that previously happened, and then it tends to come right back to this level, right? Right back to this level to test this level before it has its next leg lower, right? So for Bitcoin, let's actually look at to see what this looks like. So for Bitcoin, right? We broke below this level and we confirmed below this level. Now, what price action may do? Price action, right? It may come right back to this level, right around $100,000 per coin, right? It may come right back to this level to test this level. And remember what I said before, what was previous support on Bitcoin is now major technical resistance now. So if and whenever we reach $100,000 per coin, that could be in the next week or 2 weeks or even a month from now, right? For Bitcoin, right? Whenever we do get to $100,000 on Bitcoin, right? After breaking below and confirming below the support level of $100,000 per coin, now this level at $100,000 per coin is now major resistance on Bitcoin, right? So now that I've went through the process with you guys on that, right? And this is the weekly chart. So let's actually switch over to the daily chart because there's another pattern that I actually want to show you guys to help you guys understand this. So the daily chart on Bitcoin, right? So as we see here on the daily chart, right? And this will give you guys more understanding of what I'm saying here. So in terms of the daily chart, the macro pattern, bear flag, macro pattern, right? We broken below and confirmed below $100,000 per coin in terms of major technical support. Now, what typically happens is after we break below and confirm below a particular price level in terms of technical support, now, what's going to happen on Bitcoin is this, we may come right back to this level to test this major level. And now $100,000, which was previous support on Bitcoin, now becomes major technical resistance. What does that mean? That means that whenever Bitcoin reaches up right back up to this price, right back up to this resistance level, price should get rejected. Now, I just want to say this. Levels can always be negated and it can always go right past this level before it has its next leg lower, or it can go right past this level and test other resistance levels, right? That can always happen. So I just want to also mention that to you guys. But as for now, Bitcoin trading around $95,335 per coin. So Bitcoin could potentially come right back to up to $100,000 per coin before it gets its next leg lower. And as you see here, let's look at inside this consolidation channel, right? So as we see here, right? Let me actually zoom in more. So for Bitcoin, we had right here in technical analysis, this is called a bull flag. Upwards price action, consolidation, a massive increase in stock price. Now, what are we seeing here? We could be seeing another bull flag being formed right here, another bull flag, and then also another upside in price action. Now for Bitcoin, as I said before, we could get to $100,000 per coin, right? That's very much possible, and I think that we could get to that place in the next 2 weeks or even a month from now, right? There's really no telling how long it will take. I'll just have to watch the chart, and we'll just have to watch the charts to see what happens on Bitcoin, right? But ultimately for Bitcoin, right? It may take some time to get to $100,000 per coin, but I think in the near term to short term, Bitcoin will probably reach to $100,000 per coin on the cryptocurrency market. So just keep that in mind. So near term to short term target is $100,000 per coin, and that may take some time. So just be very mindful of that. All right, guys. Now, in terms of the macro pattern, what will happen in terms of the next 6 to 12 months, right, for Bitcoin? I think that in the next 6 to 12 months for Bitcoin, right, that after we come back to this level on Bitcoin at around $100,000 per coin on Bitcoin, I think we will get our next leg lower to which level? To around $68,000 per coin. Now I've created this rectangle right here that actually highlights this range. This range will actually be major support on Bitcoin. So we can hit anywhere in this range. Anywhere in this range that we may hit in terms of major technical support will be support for Bitcoin in terms of price action. But ultimately, I think that Bitcoin will ultimately come right back down to $68,000 per coin on the charts. And this is strictly based off of technical analysis. All right, guys. So just want to mention that to you guys, right? Now, there's also a possibility that Bitcoin may go way below this level, right? And as you can see here on the charts, right? Let's actually zoom out this even more. As you see here on the charts, right? There's another major technical support right around $50,000 per coin on Bitcoin, right? Now, there's a possibility that Bitcoin may go below 68K, may touch around 60,000 or even $50,000 per coin. But essentially, in the near term to short term, right? Understand this. In the near term to short term, Bitcoin will probably hit $100,000 in the near term to short term. $100,000 is probably the most upside that Bitcoin will have in the near term to short term before it has the next leg lower to the downside in the next probably 6 to 12 months or so, right? I'll just have to watch the charts and monitor the charts very carefully, right? So in the next 6 to 12 months or so, or it may even happen sooner than that. We just never know in the arena of cryptocurrency because anything can happen with crypto, right? There's never a dull day in crypto, right? So in the arena of cryptocurrency, after Bitcoin reaches $100,000 per coin on the charts, right? In terms of the micro bull flags that's being formed inside this consolidation channel. After we get to $100,000 per coin on Bitcoin, then we will have our next leg lower on Bitcoin based on what the charts are telling me, right? On the macro bear flag pattern, right? And understand this is based on technical analysis, all right, guys? So that's that on the technical analysis side on Bitcoin, right? So just keep this in mind, right? That as of right now, you will probably hear many different price predictions for Bitcoin. You'll probably hear many people say that Bitcoin is going to $250,000 per coin. Bitcoin is going to a million, or Bitcoin is going to $5 million per coin. You may hear many different price predictions, right, regarding Bitcoin in the near term to short term in regarding 2026 as we are in the new trading year. But just remember this, right? That you always want to look at the technical analysis, see what price action is doing on the charts to get a better understanding of where the price may go in the near term, the short term, and even to in the long term, because this is a 5 year chart on Bitcoin. So just understand that. All right, guys. So once again, to emphasize this point, we could get back up to this price. We could come right back up to this level at around $100,000 per coin, which would be major resistance on Bitcoin before we get our next leg lower to around $68,000 per coin. All right, guys. So just understand that. And also, too, despite that there's ETF inflows from institutional adoption from the Bitcoin ETFs, despite, interest rate cuts, despite the 4 year cycle, right? The 4 year cycle being, and also too with treasury companies buying Bitcoin, and then also too the hopes of the Clarity Act being passed to provide more of a regulatory framework for the digital asset space. Despite all those things happening, I don't think those things will help Bitcoin reach new all-time highs anytime soon. Once again, I could be totally wrong, but this is just based so strictly off of what the charts are telling us in terms of the technical analysis on the price action on Bitcoin, right? And the reason why I'm showing this to you guys is to help the viewers out there understand, right? That when you look at the fundamentals and the technicals, right, it will help you to become a better investor and or trader in the short term and the long term in terms of understanding your investment strategy and knowing how to adapt it to different market conditions, mitigating against risk in the market and hedging against market fluctuations. All right, guys? So that's very important to understand too. And also too in regards to technical analysis and the fundamentals as well. Understand the fundamentals and the technical analysis with regards to the chart analysis, right? Is very important because then when you're looking at the charts, you're then getting a better understanding and perspective in terms of what price action has done historically in the past, what it's doing now, and what it will do probably in the near term to short term and long term in the future, right? Because oftentimes in technical analysis, chart patterns tend to repeat themselves. So just be very, very mindful of that. All right, guys. So that's actually the end of the video today. I hope you guys enjoyed another video. Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also share the video with anyone that you think this can be very helpful and useful to as well. And also too, as a disclaimer message, I just want to let you guys know that the informations and opinions that I'm sharing with you guys in this video is not financial advice. So please seek the advice of a certified financial advisor, and please do your own due diligence into cryptocurrency because trading and investing comes with substantial risk. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed another video. My Bitcoin prediction for 2026 is that we will crash to $68,000 per coin, and we may stay there for, let's say, 1 to 2 years or so. We may stay there for 6 months. Only the charts know. Only we can only based off the charts, and we can only look at the charts and determine that, right? So my price prediction for Bitcoin is that we will get an ultimate deeper correction to 68,000. And if we actually look at, where that will be, let's actually do a price range of that. So from the recent highs, right, to now where it's traded at, that's a 24% decline in the price. And if it comes all the way down to, let's say, $68,000 per coin, that will be that will be around a 45% decline in the price of Bitcoin, right? So the purpose of making this video is to caution you guys out there, to let you guys know that, although Bitcoin and cryptocurrency may do very well in the long term, in the next 5 to 10 or 15 years, however, in the short term, we have to be very realistic about price predictions, because anything can happen in the short term in 2026. So just be very mindful of that. And once again, my price prediction for Bitcoin is that we will crash to $68,000 per coin. We may stay there for 1 to 2 years. Only the charts know. Only the charts can tell us that. And I will always closely monitor the charts. And then thus, with that being said, I think that Bitcoin is entering not a bull market, but a bear market. I think that Bitcoin is in the bear market right now based on the macro bear flag, right? So I think that Bitcoin is in a bear market. I don't think that Bitcoin is in a bull market. I think that the bull market is over, and I think that we're now in a bear market. All right, guys. So that's my price prediction on Bitcoin, strictly based off of technical analysis, right? Strictly based off the charts, right? So just be very mindful of that. Hope you guys enjoyed another video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Once again, thank you guys very much for subscribing to my YouTube channel and show me all the support. I appreciate it very much. Make sure you guys like the video, share the video with anyone that you know, and also subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching another video on my YouTube channel. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.